Hi there, this is Avalon Caravan. People ask me, living off grid or prepping or whatever you want to call what I do. It's probably a bit of both, and I think there's a lot of crossover between the two. I think, a couple of other YouTubers have sort of said that as well. Pixie Prepper says, there's a big crossover. You tend to be one or, you're both, whichever, which is absolutely true. She's spot on with that one. I don't class myself as a prepper. I'm not the sort of person that goes bug out. I do hunt. I do gather. I do like to spend a lot of time outside, away from people. And I like to sort of grow my own food where I can. I like to use local shops. I like to buy second hand. If that makes me a prepper, I've bought extra bits and bobs of certain things. If I buy a can of beans, I buy 2 cans of beans, put one away. I'm not so much for, total disaster and breakdown of society, but more that, if I get stuck out here in the snow, we've got to look realistic here. If I get stuck out in the snow, I've got to eat. And if I can't get to the shops because of where I am, I've got to be prepared for that. If that makes me a prepper, that's fine. I'm happy with that. But I don't, I don't class myself as that. Yes, I have my tools, I have my knives, I have everything like that I would need to survive. But I'm more of an off-gridder. That's the term I prefer for me. Some people prefer to be called preppers. I prefer to be an off-gridder. Now, discussing it with a lot of people recently is this time of year. I find a lot of my friends who I know, single people, usually they've had, breakdowns of relationships, which was my case. That's why I ended up here. Or they've had abusive relationships and they've needed to get out of the way completely, which, an off-grid lifestyle is a brilliant way to do that. If you can do it, I don't recommend it for everybody. It's not everybody's cup of tea and not everybody will enjoy it. Sitting for hours on end, listening to the rain battering the windows and wind in the pitch black, wading through sort of ankle deep mud and this sort of thing is not for everyone. Having to literally survive on stuff, if you can't get out. I'm lucky in that I work in a food retail place, and I get quite a bit of reduced food, so it cuts the cost down for me. But do you think a prepper or off-gridder is a sort of solitary beast? Do we need to be in a relationship? As the night's drawing, I think it would be nice to sort of come home and chat to somebody. Like I said before, pretty much most of my social life is online, either here or the various groups on Facebook or Instagram or any of the sort of other platforms. They're the main 3 I use. I don't use anything else really. But that's my social interaction with like-minded people. Yes, I have work colleagues. I don't count them as friends. They're colleagues. They're people I work with. I don't go out drinking, so I don't meet them outside of work. I occasionally chat to them online. But where we are and where we're situated, a lot of us are fairly isolated. I was curious how you sort of meet people. Yes, I know. My last partner I met online through an off-grid group. Which was absolutely fabulous, and she's a fabulous person. But it just didn't work out, and you've got to be sort of mature enough to work out that. It hit me badly. Don't get me wrong, I went through every emotion under the sun. I hated people, I disliked people, and then you sit down at one point and go, right, this is stupid. I'm just making myself like this. It's not like this. And we get on really well. Do you try dating sites? I've tried them. I tried the muddy matches, but, it didn't really work, for me, because of the sort of way I sort of am with my sort of hobbies, the hunting and things like that, and the shooting, I tended to sort of match with people that were from that sort of fraternity. Now, unfortunately, the stereotypical sort of thing is true in a little ways. You know, there are a lot of very rich, privileged people that do that. There's just as many that aren't, but they are, you know, they don't call being privileged, you know, driving around in their sort of Range Rovers and things like this. You know, they are not as rich as some people, but, you know, to me, they're living a pretty easy lifestyle, or so it appears. So you tend to find that you're matched with people like this. And when you match with people like that, you might get on incredibly well done. But then they find out you live in a caravan, you're off-grid, you don't have running water or electric. And, you know, that's not what they're from. And, you know, no disrespect, you know, that's the way they are. Great. But you also tend to meet the ones that are looking for a person who does this sort of thing, thinking that they usually have money. So you end up with the people wanting you to keep them in the lifestyle they are used to, which I'm not either. So I don't fit in either thing, you know. I mean, I'm mixing with people that, you know, have a very elitist sport, but I'm also mixing with people which are a bunch of hippie prepper sort of caravan dwellers, you know, like myself. So I do both, which is very difficult when you're trying to date people. You know, because usually the hippie side, the caravan dwellers, aren't people that agree with the hunting. You know, there's a lot have to. Don't get me wrong, people out there in caravans and things, there is a lot of preppers. They will hunt, they will grow, they will do anything like that to subsidize their food, which is fine. But then there's just as many people, which are sort of vegetarian, vegan, who have, you know, issues with the shooting community and anything to do with meat production, not just the shooting community. So it then becomes a double-edged sword for me. So you know, I find it difficult. So I ended up sort of being sort of like, to be fair, not trying anymore. You know, is that common? You know, do we bother? You know, is it worth the hassle anymore? You know, I think, you know, yes, it would be nice to have a, you know, come back from work or when I've been out all day or whatever, just to sit and have a conversation. If I'm out all day, you know, gathering or whatever, it'd be nice to have somebody with me sometimes, you know, that you can share those amazing sunsets, those amazing moonlight nights, you know, those beautiful sort of sunny days. You know, to be honest, there's gale force horrible days out there, which has its own beauty. You know, what are your thoughts on that? You know, are we doomed for a solo life? Or are there ways to find people out there? Also, how do you fit them in a small caravan? You know, I've got to that point where I have my routines now. You know, how do I fit somebody else into that routine? You know, even if my son comes over, it disrupts me. You know, I'm wondering, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I can't. He's over here, them over there. I can't move past that. His shoes, you know, this sort of thing. So there are sort of physical problems with that as well, in that your space is working for you. It doesn't work for more than you, if you see what I mean. Anyway, your thoughts on that? You know, just put a comment down below, you know, if you've got any ideas of or how you've done it, or whether you think, you know, that the solo life is a way to go, or whether you agree that, you know, it would be nice to actually sort of have a chat to someone now and again, you know, that's like-minded. Anyway, this is Avalon Caravan. Have a great evening. Take care.